Thousands of microsatellites are going to revolutionize equality for humankind by bringing high-speed internet to everyone on the planet. Allow me to rephrase that. Darren Severin at Tesla Mobile Labs explained last week that it is launching thousands of microsatellites into orbit around the Earth, and that these satellites will allow high-speed upload and download services to everyone, everywhere on the planet. Okay, let's just quickly back up and take a look at what I just said there. There's me in an unattractive still image. I actually said two different things. Let's compare those two different things side by side. Take a look at the first statement. This first statement comes from me. I just happen to know this information because I am a bit of a maniac for science and technology. I read the news a lot every day, and like most people, stuff that interests me stays with me. I shared this knowledge with you. Now, let's take a look at the second statement. I don't know if you've noticed or not, but the two statements are essentially stating the exact same thing. However, I have a question for you. Which of these two statements in your eyes appears to be more reliable, more credible, more believable, more truthful? This little exercise has been an introduction to a question that professors receive quite often from students. Normally, the question goes somewhere along the lines of, are we required to use external sources in our paper? Now, this is actually a two-part answer. The first answer that I'm going to give you is the priority answer. It's the answer that takes precedence over everything else. You must read your activity instructions, and if your activity instructions indicate anywhere that external sources are required, then yes, external sources are required. You must put external sources in your work if the instructions require it. Then we come to answer number 2. What if the instructions do not explicitly state that external sources must be incorporated into your work? Things become a little vaguer at this point. The choice of whether or not to include external information in your work rests on your shoulders. What should you do? Let's return to the two statements that I made at the beginning of this video. Think about those two statements for a moment. Which one made more of an academic impact on you? Now, it's perfectly acceptable to produce work with no external sources. However, what sort of quality work are you looking to produce? Typically, work with external sources is of better quality than work without external sources. If you ever take a look at the work of a foremost specialist in their field, you will notice that they always include external citations, even if they're the top person on the planet in their particular field. So the choice of whether or not you wish to include external sources in your work really rests with you. Now, it is sometimes at this point that I get a second follow-up question from students, and that is, will we lose marks if we do not include an external source? The answer to this is that if the instructions did not require external sources, you will not lose marks. However, I want you to keep in mind that the professors grading your work are human beings. They have subconsciousnesses. I cannot help but to wonder sometimes if professors, when they read a paper with no external sources versus a paper with external sources, do not enjoy the latter more than the former, and somewhere pass along that grade as a higher grade. If you would like my personal advice on the topic, I would say that beginning in university, you're going to be required to include external sources in 100% of your work anyways. University and your future workplace will not allow you to produce work without credible external sources. Why not get started practicing now? After all, you'll produce a better paper.